Good evening. How are you all this evening? I'm Randy Oliver. I'm the county administrator, and we have with us Commissioner Davis. She's the commissioner from this particular district, so she's been highly interested in this, and we've been trying to move this along. And what I want to do this evening is to tell you where we are, where we're going, and what arrangements have been made. First thing I like to make sure of is the restrooms are out through the doors to the right if anybody needs that. Same thing, if there's a fire or something, you go to the left, you can go out, or you can go out the front door. Don't expect that problem, but you never know. There's a sign-up sheet in the foyer right out there that has emails on it. If you provide emails, we can do periodic updates as things progress. So I'd like to go through a little bit of history on this particular project first, because this dates back about 50 years. This subdivision is from the 1970s. Okay, and just so you know, the county has about 400 miles of roads that have not been accepted for maintenance. These roads have not been accepted for maintenance. If you're familiar with Bennett Street, which is just down the road from you, that was done as a special assessment, okay, and the people that paid the cost for that road were the people that, you know, the road was improved in front of. The roads that have not been accepted for maintenance range in quality from Gum Street. I don't know if any of you know where Gum Street is. That's probably one of the most challenging ones we have because it's a sand, and when it gets real dry, it's hard to get through there. But they range in quality from Gum Street to Terra Vista's private streets in there. Obviously, those are pretty well maintained. Okay, but those are also private. The county and DT Villages 11 LLC litigated the issue regarding the roads, and the county prevailed. If anybody would like a copy of that court decision, it's right there. When you bought the property, the seller and/or title company, title attorney that you used should have disclosed to you that the roads were not county maintained. If they did not, then you may have recourse or action against one or more of those parties, but that would be a private matter. Additionally, the price that you paid for the lot should have reflected the difference in the quality and who's responsible for maintaining the road. But again, that's a private transaction. No permission was granted to grade or cut the roads out there at all. Okay. Whoever did so performed that action illegally. Swift Mud's talked to several individuals, and they all deny performing the work. Okay? If you know who performed the work, please contact Swift Mud, because I'm sure they'd love to hear. Swift Mud requires what's called an environmental resource permit, which they issue. Okay? This permit ensures the drainage and water quality issues are properly addressed, because I see, my background's engineering, but I see from an engineering perspective, while putting in the roads can be challenging, that's the easy part on this project to me compared to drainage. It's going to be, where's the water going to go? Because I've seen some pictures and there's some areas that are low, and that's all supposed to be worked out in advance. No such permit was issued, as I mentioned, and Swift Mud issued a cease and desist letter, meaning that no work can be done on the roads until that permit's obtained. Okay. Unfortunately, and I don't agree with state law here, but that's state law, the county cannot withhold one permit for lack of another. And the county attorney cringes when I say this, but as an abstract example, if somebody came in and had a piece of property on Kings Bay and wanted to build a pier out into Kings Bay 1,000 feet, we'd have to give them a permit. Okay? We know the Corps of Engineers had never permitted, and neither would DEP. But by law, we have to do it. This was tested, and I forget who the builder is out there. The builder challenged the fact that we were going to hold the permits. We did some discussion with the county attorney's office, and they reaffirmed that we cannot hold up the permit one for another. We're there. Fire and EMS has assured me they can get emergency vehicles into the subdivision if the situation warrants it. The county attorney's office has been working with Anna Long of the law firm Dean and Mead. Miss Long represents Mr. Van Heusen. Okay. Miss Long has completed the MSBU petition process. That was completed about a week ago. How many of you all, out of curiosity, signed that petition? Okay. Petition at Mr. Van Heusen's request. The county's verified the petition and determined it meets the administrative regulation of 50% plus one. It has to represent 50% plus one of the lot owners. An MSBU, which stands for Municipal Services Benefit Unit, assesses the cost of the project against the benefit of property owners. By law, it has to be based on the benefit, and the cost has to be related there. Same method that we use for Bennett Street. Mr. Van Heusen, according to Ms. Long, has agreed to pay for the engineering, which is approximately $450,000, subject to being reimbursed if the MSBU proceeds. Okay, that's what his attorney has represented. By law, if the project doesn't move forward, the engineering won't be reimbursed because you don't have a project. Mr. Van Heusen also wants to be paid for any lots required for drainage retention areas. The ideal thing and what the Swift Mud permit requires is you ought to figure out where the water's going so you don't build a house in a low spot. Okay? And it gets a little more complicated that way. The county has required Ms. Long, Mr. Van Heusen, to use an engineer off the county's continuing services contract to ensure the project is properly designed. We don't want somebody that's fly by night. We want somebody who's credible. The engineer that they selected was DRMP, which we have used before, and they're a credible engineering firm. The next step is to develop an agreement with Mr. Van Heusen, which is being worked on now, for the engineering services and delineate if, when, and how he is repaid. An MSBU, again, can only be created if the project's completed. In other words, the road goes in. And this will also define under what conditions he gets his money back. If that agreement isn't reached, then it'll get more interesting. But hopefully they're proceeding in good faith. Only after the design is completed will we have the engineer's estimate of probable cost. We don't know a cost at this point. The total cost of the project will be divided by the number of benefited property owners. So as a general rule of thumb, if there are 10 houses on a road and it costs, $1,000 a lot, then everybody pay that, whatever it is, divided by 10. There's some costs and things. I would note that once the agreement's signed, the cost can be paid up front or over a 10-year period as an addition to the tax bill. There's interest on that, though, I will say that. Once the agreement is signed, it'll take about 4 to 6 months to complete the engineering and approximately 18 months to bid and perform the work. As I said, the greatest challenge on this project is drainage. That part is going to be tricky because the right-of-way is very narrow, and it may even in some sections require what's called a closed pipe system, which is what's used in cities. Well, wait one sec. Let me explain how we're going to do this then. I want to make sure everybody gets their question answered, but I want to know they're going to be duplicates. So what I'm going to do is I've got cards here, and anybody that wants a card, just write your question down on that, then I'll answer that card. I'll answer those, and we may have different, we may have a lot of similar questions. So I want to make sure all those questions are answered. So Veronica, if you want to pass out cards and pens to whoever would like one. And whoever's the first to complete the card, I will deal with that question first. No, you can put multiple questions on if you want. You've each got a different question, right? I can't answer this one. It says I called over a year ago, and Amber. I don't know. I don't know an Amber.
I asked her about my permit, would they issue a permit if the retaining and drainage wasn't in? She said no, they wouldn't. That was required for them to even issue.
On your lot, it's required. It's not required for the subdivision, though.
Can you clarify that a little bit more? In other words, they would issue a...
In other words, we won't let you, a building permit won't let you build a house in a hole, okay? The water needs to run away from the house, okay? But the subdivision is different than that. But that we won't issue a building permit if, for example, you tried to build the house lower than the surrounding soil. So, okay, another card. I don't exactly think that I understand this one. Bennett Street paved. Would other streets be eligible to be paved without an MSBU? No.
No.
They would not. Inverness Village IV is paved street from previous MSBU. Can this be applied to our new homes? No, it has to be a new MSBU. It has to benefit. An MSBU, according to state law, has to have specific benefit to a piece of property. Okay. Okay, it says 450,000 subject to return to developers if project, he doesn't get the $450,000 back if the project doesn't move forward because I can't assess the benefit.
To clarify, the engineering will determine what the cost of the MSBU is, and so you might not want to sign that, and therefore the project dies after we do the engineering and the cost estimate, in which case you're not at anything, but the developer, if he does go through with what he said, is out $450,000.
This is a good question. Who's responsible for taking care of the roads now? The answer is the roads are there illegally. Swift mud would just assume that it'd be planted back in grass. They clearly said that. That's not totally realistic from my perspective, but they would approve that. They will also approve once somebody gets the ERP, they can do that. Hopefully, if we can get this MSBU going forward, they'll be a little more agreeable to let the homeowners and the HOA or POA do something. But right now, it is illegal to touch those roads at all. Okay, first responders, life safety. The fire chief's told me that he can get fire trucks and ambulances in there. If need be, they'll do what they've got to do to get there.
To my point, when I was first elected, I went around and toured all the various departments in the county, and I did a ride along with fire and with ambulance as well. And they have these huge brush trucks that can go anywhere. Like we went through Arrowhead when the flooding happened last year after I was in office. I went through and looked at some citizen issues with drainage and whatnot back there. There was no place that we couldn't go. So they absolutely can. How many brush trucks do we have? One?
Yeah, how available are they? I mean, if it's like way over on one side of the county.
Randy, how many do we have?
We have a couple of trucks on order, including brush trucks, but I think there's public water out here. Isn't there? Aren't fire hydrants out here?
Right, but if we have seen a semi truck get stuck out there, we have pictures of it and everything, and if a normal fire truck cannot get in there to be able to hook up a hose, how is one brush
Well,
truck that might be in homicide?
The fire equipment, I'm just, and I'm definitely out of my lane here because I don't work in the fire department, but I trust the chief when he says he can get back there. No matter what, he can get back there. And, an 18-wheeler that has been tractor trailer that's designed to go down the road is not remotely the same as the beefiness of what we have in the fire equipment.
And we also have some four-wheel drive trucks.
Yeah, so.
I submitted that question to you, and what I'm referring to, I'm a retired fireman contractor. And there's two forms. There's life safety, which refers to fire, and there's first responders, which refers to law enforcement, fire, medical, the whole works. And the thing I'm curious about is, can EMTs, paramedics, law enforcement, along with fire, can these people get back to these roads?
I cannot answer as it relates to law enforcement. I can answer as it relates to EMS and fire, and the chief has said yes, they can. We do have some fire units that are four-wheel drive, or some EMS units, I mean. The other question was, is Cunningham north of Bennett included? And if you'll write your email down, I'll find that out. I do not recall. I'm not familiar intimately with all the streets out there. Okay, we were told that the gravel would be put down until the roads are paved. Who said that? Who? In real estate, remember, in real estate, it doesn't count unless it's in writing. Okay, but Swift Mud will not let any gravel go down out there. The one thing is if you put gravel down, guess what happens? It makes the impervious area greater, and it will exacerbate flooding issues. Okay, and that's part of the issue out there, because I've seen some pictures where water during a heavy rain event has come up to the front door.
So is there some type of temporary situation that can be administered? I was there today, and I actually got stuck in the dirt. It wasn't even raining. On my street, it's 90% complete my house. So is there
again, as I say, you're playing Russian roulette with gravel, because gravel will make the flooding worse. And again, until swift mud raises, allows something to be done there, can't do it.
So we have two swimming pools in the front of our house, and I'm like, 2 whole weeks of rain, we're not gonna be able to leave the house. They're just like.
Well, let's, if you got a question, fill out the card. Okay. Okay, well, I just haven't gotten there yet. In May of 2021, SwiftMud informed all parties, including Citrus County, that an ERP had not been asked for or applied, and that all properties were not in compliance. I don't know if that date's exactly right, but the statement's true. With this knowledge, Citrus County inspectors have continued to issue certificates of occupancy in multiple houses of past. That's true. We're not permitted to hold one permit up for another permit. How has Citrus County been able to continue doing this while the entire subdivision is not in compliance? I can't hold up the permit. That's the law. It's Florida state law. What do you suggest homeowners do on the flooding? My suggestion is to dig trenches around the house to minimize it. Okay, here, oh, wait a minute. Let's be fair to everybody who's asking questions. When we ask if the road going in to be done, the realtor told us yes. Okay, if you got it in writing, you may have recourse. If you don't have it in writing, you don't have it in recourse probably. So, witnesses don't matter. In real estate law, at least this is what I've been told, but you need to get an attorney to tell you it doesn't count if it isn't in writing. Doesn't matter how many witnesses you got. The interest rate's been 6% on a 10-year bond. The question was, what's the interest rate? And it would be paid annually. We bought our lot 2 years ago. Since then, the developers changed the character of the adjoining property, taking out trees and dirt. What responsibility does the developer have? We don't have any regulation on that. That would be if you've got an HOA or POA, and I don't know if you do or don't. But we've gone through that in a number of subdivisions where people come in. I know there was a nice subdivision out near you. I can't think of the name of it. Something estates, presidential estates. And they were complaining that there was a manufactured home going in, and all the other homes were stick built. And that's not a county issue. As long as it complies with the building code, we're good. Good question. If I sell my house before the 10 years of payments are done, the balance will immediately, the title attorney will make it so that balance has to be paid off. They won't let that ride because it'll cloud the title for the new purchaser. Is there a final county inspection for final grade on a lot? Yeah, only as it relates to the house being above the grade. Okay. When MSBU agreed on, will all roads have to be completed at the same time? Everything in the benefited area, and if you've got, I'll send you all a map out. I know we did the original MSBU, and then there was one short street that asked to be included, and that was subsequently included. But I can send a map out. And SwiftMud, as I say, once the engineering's going forward, I think SwiftMud at least may allow the road to be graded. I'm not going to guarantee that because I don't know. I doubt they're gonna let gravel go down because, again, of the flooding issue. It's gonna, like graded with a scraper. No, we can't stop the builder. Again, we can't stop one we can't stop one permit. It says, can the builder be stopped from stripping additional lots, which is causing more runoff issues? And the answer is no. We can't deny one permit for another.
Although my personal opinion is I would contact an attorney as a class action, but that's just me. I probably shouldn't even say anything because this job can be pretty awful in terms of people coming after you, but I am somewhere between outraged and horrified on your part, what you guys have been through. It's like, I think I said that on the dais, it's cold comfort, but I do care. And there's the briefing that Mr. Oliver just gave is the briefing I've received 8 times, 9 times, 10 times.
Few times.
Every single time I get a phone call or an email, I respond and I go back to our attorney and Randy and I say, can we do anything, please? And I get the same answer every single time. And it's just a really ugly civics lesson. Really ugly. But you guys were definitely taken for a ride.
The best thing that can happen is the MSBU moves forward.
Yes.
That's the best outcome. Okay, we weren't told we had to pay for the roads. Again, that's a private matter. You have to take up with whoever you bought the lot from and what they told you in writing. Huh?
You knew you had to pay for them? Yeah, that's good. Well, a proper developer. Yeah. Well, thank you. But the proper developer, I mean, they go, like Citrus Hills was a big watermelon field. They go in and they plat out all the lots and they put aside certain lots for DRAs, they pave it all, and then they start building houses. And that's the right way to do it. Now you guys are having to live with swimming pools that aren't swimming pools in your front yard. And, my dad and stepmom were wiped out by one of the, I think it was Hurricane Hermine. Hermine, the third time they flooded, so they had to demolish and build up. And so they rented a house on a sand road. And so I'm pretty familiar with what it's like to go in and out to a sand road. And his caddy got back there somehow, and I'm not sure how, but I'm glad I had a little miniature SUV because that's tough. It's really tough. But I think the drainage in that section of the county and on that particular road is better than what y'all have. So, yes, ma'am, I'm Commissioner Holly Davis.
We were told in the big meeting that we had in the quarter, by the way, that the Swift Mud had put in the gravel on Cunningham for like $800. And that they, that they would be able to do that. We could do that until we got this approved.
I'm not aware of that, but I doubt SwiftMud's going to approve that at all.
I will call Swift Mud. I have a good contact there that I lit him up about something in Arrowhead nicely, and it got solved. So I'll do what I can to apply what political pressure I have. But like Mr. Oliver said, don't hold out any great hope because that is a separate governmental entity. We have no control over them.
Okay, the next question. We weren't told we had to pay for the roads. That's a private matter. I mean, I can sell you the Brooklyn Bridge, but you're not going to get much. Okay. Why do I have to pay for the stormwater runoff? That's for 2 things. If you have an ERP like, and there's no ERP out here. If you have an ERP, an environmental resource permit, you can get a credit against the stormwater for up to 50% of the cost. The rest of it's for the drainage coming off the roads. No, but there's still runoff, and that runoff there are other roads that you travel on. The roads have street names. How did that happen? It always happens. The reason is because even on private roads, we put up the street names so fire and ambulance can find it, and you've got a proper address so that people can find out where it is. Will properties be taken from us for drainage? That's a good question. I can't answer that question until the engineering is done. I would think to the extent they can, they're going to totally steer away from that because that's costly. But that may require them to do, again, as I said, a closed pipe system like most of you seen in cities where they have curb and gutter and it drains under the ground and that. One of the questions is going to be, where is the water from this subdivision going to drain to? And I can't answer that until the engineering's done. Okay, if the MSU doesn't pass, what happens with the roads? They stay as they are. Once the MSBU pave the road, whose responsibility to maintain it? Once the roads are paved to county standards, the Board of County Commissioners will accept them for maintenance, and then it will be the county's responsibility to maintain them.
And stormwater as well, right? Yes?
Yeah,
If
the
we
DRAs and everything.
Yeah, if we install the stormwater, then it becomes our responsibility.
Can a private owner make any improvement to road in front of their home? The answer is legally no. You can do it under your driveway, yeah, as long as you're not in the road right away, yeah.
This is a mess.
Mr. Oliver, I just want to make a comment. Any improvement that a homeowner does that will flood a neighbor, then you will be responsible for that. So,
The property owner will be responsible, that's correct. You can't flood your neighbor.
But the developer can flood us.
Flooding anyway because of the way they never leveled anything out, so somebody's up here and the next person's down there.
Randy, what is the recourse if one neighbor floods another?
It's a civil matter and it gets resolved by the courts.
So they would have a leg to stand on with the developer flooding their property by clearing other lots?
If they prove that the developer cleared the property and created the situation.
A lot of subdivisions that I've built over the years, that's what silt fence is for. You'll find out when they put a lot in and they start to build a house, they'll put silt fence around the road. And that's to maintain the water and keep it out in the.
I've had to do that on all
off
my
the
properties, yeah.
Yes.
What can we do about cars avoiding the hole by driving on my yard? Again, law enforcement can ticket them and tow them if they want to, but I don't know how much. The sheriff's got a lot of other things to deal with, so I don't know how high this is going to be on their list of things to do.
That's what I'm thinking, like, could I put stakes down, because they drive through my yard to avoid the lake.
As long as you keep it out of the right of way and it's on your property, yes. What is the outcome going to be? That's the $64,000 question. I can't tell you that. But we're going to proceed in good faith to do the things that we outlined. The next key test is going to be whether Mr. Van Usen puts up the money he's committed to, and I can't answer that yet.
So that's for $400,000?
$450 roughly.
So I thought you said that, you said you were gonna do that.
No, the $450 will be kept in escrow by the county to pay the engineer. It's going to be whatever amount the engineer design work comes up with. We got an initial price, but there's some things that they got to add to it. So we're working on the scope, and the attorney's office is working on the agreement with Mr. Van Usen.
So is that the next step, or we're still waiting for the MSBU to be approved?
No, the next step is for the agreement and for the agreement to get executed, and then for Mr. Van Usen to put up that money. There's some people that think that he may be trying to get as many properties built out there as he can, and lots sold before he needs to do that. I can't answer that. I'm assuming he's proceeding in good faith.
Well, he can just run away after he builds all the houses and that's it.
This is true, and there have been a lot of developers that have done that.
Great. No plan B. So there's no plan B really. If he doesn't put up the $450,000, we all screwed.
Well, y'all can put up the 450.
300 homes, it's about $1,400 a piece.
Lots count too, yes, Randy?
Lots count too, but you can't create an MSBU for engineering design. You've got to be prepared to move forward once you do the engineering work. Good question. Does the county see that because of this mess, some ordinance may need to be changed? Yeah, the first ordinance that I'd change would be the state law that says you can't hold up one permit for another. But I don't have control over that. That would be up to the state legislature.
I'm having dinner with Ralph Missoula Wednesday night. I believe that's going to be a subject of conversation.
Well, there are going to be some developers that are going to lobby hard on that one. What does the Swift Mud stop work order only covers the roads. It doesn't cover the houses at all.
So they can't stop any of the construction on
No. It just says that you can't do anything to the roads. Are berms and swales on individual property permitted? The answer to that is yes, as long as it's on your property. Okay, but again, you better be careful of if you alter, you could open yourself up to litigation, because obviously if you create a situation that's a dam and the water backs up and goes into your neighbor's house, you could be liable for that, and that would be a civil matter. I can't answer where Mr. Vanderwalk fits in. I think he's the contractor. What relationship they have with each other, I don't know. But they seem to be coordinating very closely together. That I can tell you.
What we're being told is Anton is the land seller and Vanderbilt's the home builder. Nobody's claiming to be a developer out there.
Technically, that's true. The project was designed back in the 70s. The developer, I think they went bankrupt, but I'm not sure. Okay, Mr. Van Heusen purchased a large number of lots. How many, I'm not sure. But he purchased a large number of lots. He technically is not the developer because of that. Okay, if he was a developer, there would be greater teeth. Please provide more details when you say Van Heusen wants to get paid for the DRA lots. He's, like any developer, he's trying to maximize his profits. And
Technical term.
no,
Quasi-developer.
he's not the developer. He bought 50, 100, 150, 200 lots. I can't answer that. 123? Okay, 323. Okay. But he paid whatever price for those lots. He wants to be paid fair market value for whatever lots may be required for DRA, and I don't know the answer to that at this point.
That's going to be in the engineering study.
Mr. Van Heusen only communicates through his attorney. Okay? Yeah.
It's going to be difficult, push came to shove, could the county do an eminent domain on certain lots to provide for drainage?
Yeah, but under Florida law, eminent domain, you've still got to pay fair market value. And in addition to paying fair market value, you've also got to pay their costs for legal representation and appraisals. So you got to be careful with eminent domain, because be careful what you ask for, because if you Typically, if we go to eminent domain, it winds up costing about 125% of the value, or a little more. But he's going to claim that he was going to build a house there, I'm sure, and that he was going to make X dollars on the house and X dollars on the lot and all kinds of stuff.
Y'all are familiar with the term, somebody who takes the last nickel off the table?
But they're building them so fast, there are no houses in between. So by the time this all gets sold, there are gonna be no empty lots.
Again, as I said, you can do what's done in a city, and I don't know the terrain out there, and we won't until the engineer does it. But in cities, they build houses on very small lots, but they handle all the drainage through a closed pipe system where it goes through an inlet in the street into a pipe and then goes someplace else. And the question is, what's going to be the lowest spot, and is there property at a spot to be able to direct that water into? And I won't know that.
Some of us were told it was all supposed to drain into the pond back behind it.
Mud Lake.
Back
Yes, Mud
behind
Lake.
Cunningham or whatever.
Now, if we all decided to do a class action lawsuit, would that be against Van Heusen or?
That'd be something you'd need to contact a private attorney and determine whether you've got a valid claim or not, because I don't know if you bought the lot from Van Heusen or bought it from somebody else, and also I don't know what I've seen some of the papers out there, and I've seen some that say, you know, you agreed to pay $50 a year for maintenance for the road or something like that. I've seen that too. How many people have that, I don't know.
The number varies. We were told 75 that we built.
But we didn't, don't have it.
We didn't have it right. That was just word.
My word maintenance says nothing about money.
Okay.
Everybody's paperwork seems to be a little bit different.
That should serve you well.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I do have a paper, I'm trying to figure out where it came from now, whether it was the title company or the bank, that says all permitting, including environmental, have to be in place. And I don't know if I got it from the title company or from the bank, but,
I'm working on that now.
we're trying to figure out where that came from.
Well, typically, and I know a lot of people in Citrus County, you know, they've reached a certain point in their life, they don't need mortgages, but typically mortgage companies, specifically Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, cannot lend on unimproved lots. And if somebody's certifying through to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac that this is an improved lot, that is going to be a real problem to them.
I don't, this is not on the card, and it may not be able to be answered, but at what point can we start the class action?
That would be up to a private attorney and
I would
this
personally
group.
perhaps think about trying to get the 450 out of him so we can get this ship underway,
And then after,
and then think about it. But I'm not an attorney, so please, for the love of God, do not take my advice. I'm just throwing that out there. That's what I would think from a strategic standpoint.
So we would do that before anything, or wait to see if he does come up with the money, or?
I'm just saying personally, if I were one of y'all, I would probably say, wait till we get the 450, get the county receives the 450, so we can get a solution underway, a real solution. So let's also, y'all are in hell right now. There is absolutely no way around it. Y'all are in bad situation right now. To look at the future, this will eventually, if the MSBU goes through, be fixed. You are going to have paved roads. You can then yell at me for the road not being resurfaced in 25 years, although I will not be around anymore. Your stormwater will be done. All of that will be done. The closed pipe stormwater is more expensive than a DRA, but that's a fancier neighborhood as far as I'm concerned. You know, your home values will go up because of all this being done. So that's the money ball right there. That's what you've got to keep your eye on the ball. And so personally, I would say try to get the 450 out of him
Is there a
and get it
deadline?
underway.
Is there a deadline for Van Heusen to come up with that, or?
No, there's no real deadline. As soon as the agreement is done by the county attorney's office, they're going to exchange it with their attorney, and that's when we're going to find out how serious everybody is.
How will we get notified if that's a done deal that
If I've got your email address, we can keep you on a list. We'll set up a.
What's his incentive to come up, what's in it for him to come up with this money?
The same improvements being made to those lots that are unimproved, correct?
Yeah, but I don't know how many lots he now owns though. But it would be the benefit that he's got of, having lots on a paved road, which is gonna add value to the lot. I just don't know how many lots he owns, because when we originally started talking, he said he owned, according to his attorney, he said he owned 50% of the lots. Now, if that be the case, he could have gone ahead and just signed it. When we did the research on it, it was about 30%.
Who owns the rest of them?
Individual property owners. Okay, well, we'll try to do, we'll do an email to continue to update you on this as to where we are. As I say, the next step is working with Mr. Van Heusen to get his contribution to get this project started. I'm not going to say that's a slam dunk. I can't answer that.
Let's hope that he just, does what he says. Yes.
Right now you're saying that all the roads are passable in case of an emergency. But let's just say a hurricane comes through, or a tornado. What are they supposed to do as far as if now the roads are really not passable in an emergency situation, who can they call? They can't call roadworks. So who can they call, or what can they do if they come home and all of a sudden they can't get to their home? What are they supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, it rained 20 inches and now it's all just underwater. Most people don't drive a four-wheel drive car, so where can they go? What can they do?
Well, obviously that's a concern. I would say this versus Arrowhead or everything west of 19. I think this is in a higher elevation area, so I don't think that that's going to be as big an issue, but it could be a short-term issue. You're right.
Right, that's what I'm talking about, short-term emergency. Because in an emergency, you don't know who to call.
Again, we can get fire and EMS through.
See, on Barnett, above us there, the county's been called 2 or 3 times, and they come out and did emergency repairs out there. We've got it, we got paperwork from the county saying they've done emergency repairs on these roads up there.
We can't do that legally. I don't know who did it, but whoever did it, I'm going to have a talk to.
Yeah, I know, it's issued from the county, and we've got the paperwork from it. 'Cause it's public record.
Didn't you say Burnett's one of the paved ones?
Bennett Street's paved.
Yeah, it's paid, but this is back in 2012. Yes, it was. 2012.
If you can send me that paperwork, I'd be curious to look at.
Yeah, we give it to her. That's the issue.
Well, actually, I gave it over to the side that, or
Yes.
I gave the pictures and that paper that said that, repairs were done, emergency repairs, and the other part of Inverness Village IV.
Yeah, the chances of me finding that quickly.
If you
are-
can send me a PDF copy of it.
Do you have a copy of that you can send to staff?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll send it to you.
I appreciate it. We all go without actually an administrative assistant, so it's a little tough to keep up sometimes with paperworks and emails and everything else.
I have a question, just one question, and I'll shut up. The meeting that they had in the community center at Whispering Pines, or you all attended that, we were told that you all were asked to or invited to come to that, and you all.
I don't know. Who said that?
That's the first I've heard of it.
I don't know. I don't know who Ann
In fact,
all
this-
the attorney for Van
To-
Heusen.
tonight's meeting, the original, who made the original request?
Nobody.
Somebody, no,
Randy offered.
no, but there was an email chain where y'all suggested, that was you, yes, suggested Wednesday evening, and I have another engagement Wednesday evening, and I asked, and thank you for changing it to Monday so I could be here. So absolutely, if I had known about it, I would have been there.
I will say this, the
Schedule
MS
permitting, I mean, my schedule's a little nuts, but I probably could have been there.
the MSBU process is a a process of the various property owners to petition their government to achieve something. And you gotta be careful that you don't try to flavor it one way or the other.
So how long is it gonna take for this agreement to get to?
Hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days.
So is there anything we can do to hasten the process?
Government, you get it?
I'm not worried about the government. I'm worried about his attorney, but he's at least, I assume, paying her. So.
Is it true Swift Mud has levied fines against them? And that he's backing this MSBU just to get Swift Mud off his back?
Swift Mud's on his back. There's no question because they've issued a cease and desist order. I don't know the answer on the fines. I hadn't heard that before.
And you,
I can answer that. I spoke with Elizabeth Fernandez, I believe the end of August.
She's the attorney for Swift Mud.
Correct, and she did say that, yes, they are being fined, and no, he is not paying the fine. I shouldn't say he, she said they, so I don't know if that means
Just
DT
LLC or
Villages,
whatever it is.
Vanderbilt, but they are being fined and they're not paying it.
and you've put your.
Fines are
hand up
worthless
several
if nobody pays them.
times. Right.
In an ideal situation, follow-up question with her, the 30 to 60 days, how much time frame do we have before the actual MSBU is approved, goes ahead, and then we actually have roads?
Okay, good question. The formal MSBU, here's the way that works. This is a letter of what I call preliminary interest. Okay, the engineering will be done. The engineer will come up with an estimate of probable cost. If it covers 200 lots, all the costs will be divided by 200 or whatever it is and come up with a number. Then we have to go back out. The board can determine if the board wants to. The administrative policy says 50% plus one of the people have to agree. State law says is if it's in the best safety and public health interests of the community, that the board can go ahead and do it. But that's a board decision. But right now, the administrative policy said 50% plus one of the people have to approve it. So the MSBU will not be approved until either the board decides to create it, but there'll be a public hearing before the board where people can come in and say, I'm in favor of it, I'm opposed to it.
I thought we already signed that.
No, this was just the initial.
That was just to see if we were interested in it.
Uh-huh.
Is there any way to, I don't know, talking in the future, like when it comes time to do roads and drainage, is there any kind of grant or bond money that the county or state could apply for on our behalf, or?
Legislative appropriation if the legislature's willing to do it. But right now, the board's wrestling with how do you pay to pave the roads we got right now.
I'm gonna put you on the spot, Mr. Oliver. I know that you've done this before throughout your career. Is there a subdivision similar to ours where you can give us some kind of idea of what the out-of-pocket is gonna be to the homeowners?
I really can't, and the reason I can't is because of drainage. Drainage, in my opinion, is gonna, if it was just a straight where you could dig ditches down the side of the road, I could give you a better estimate, but drainage on this one is gonna be the difficult element, and I
it's a
don't
moving
know.
target because he's continuing to build on lots, and if he's building on the low lots, which would be the DRAs, then it gets more and more complex the longer that goes on, correct?
We were told when we were
So-
buying a lot that it would be between 6,000 and 6,500. And then about a month ago, Mr. Van Dusen said now it'll be about 10,000. But I'm seeing it being much, much more after what we're learning.
I don't come out with costs that if I don't know.
Yeah, that would be irresponsible of us to, at this point. But so 30 to 60 days for this to get done, and then say we have 450,000 in 60 days, and everything's been ratified. How long for the engineering study to take?
4 to 6 months for the engineering, and then about we got to go through the bid process, accept the bids, award it. You're probably talking 12 to 18 months after that for construction.
So when would they have a number?
As soon as the engineering is
Which
done and
which
the
is
end.
sometime in 23?
Yeah, It would be sometime in 23,
Like
assuming
middle-
Mr. Van Usen proceeds.
roughly middle of 23, if he proceeds.
Yeah, that would be a good
Okay.
estimate.
I got a silly question. If we get flood insurance, does that cover what we're in right now?
That you need to talk to your insurance company about, but in my opinion, yes.
Okay, I have one more question. So you said that there was a map, and I got the map of the streets. My street is not on it. Apparently, I'm not part of the whole new development that I just got a house in 6, 7 months ago, and I'm in North Bennett, north from Cunningham from Bennett. And then I contacted county lawyer, and she sent me an email, and she said that it's gonna be beneficial, and my street's gonna be added to it. You said there was some kind of.
There was one street added. I do not recall what street it was, though.
Where can I get that map from?
If your email's on that list, I will set up a distribution list and we'll email the map out.
Okay, thank you.
If there's a street that's missed, you have to get 50% plus one of the people on that street to,
Nobody lives on my street, it's only 3 mailboxes. Everybody else has a connecting 2 lots, and there are entrances from the independent, so it's just the 3 of us.
okay?
And it's by lot though, right?
It's,
And every single,
How many lots?
probably on one street, it's probably on my side, it's probably 10.
So 20
okay,
lots
so
total?
you're gonna need 6 of the 10 lots.
Like I said, nobody lives there, they have connecting lots from the
It-
independent.
It won't matter because they're gonna be assessed.
And I still got an email from the county lawyer, she said it's gonna be added to it because it's beneficial.
I don't know if it was or not. I don't know.
I'm a little confused. If we have a subdivision called Inverness Village IV, why is she needing to have approval of one street? I'm not understanding.
He didn't include everybody in this assessment for the whole subdivision. That was their decision.
So if my street is not included, can I have somebody else to make that road? I pay for it.
You need to submit a petition if it's not included with 51% of the people that live on your road agreeing, that have frontage on that road.
So even if I wanted to pay for entire road for that Amsterdam to the Bennett, because that's what I need, I still need the people agree on my street that they want the road?
Yeah, but if you tell them you're gonna pay for it, I would think that'd make me real comfortable with it.
Something about it, it's only one little tiny bit, and the rest of it Cunningham, I'm sorry.
I think she's talking about the area out there where there was a previous builder.
Yes.
They built houses on Independence. And they bought double lots, so the
Yes.
frontage is on Independence, but they're all fenced off from the road that's running in behind, and it's the back of the house.
That's fine, but they have the legal right to build on that lot unless they merge the 2 lots together. So at some point in the future, they could sell that lot off and somebody could build upon it.
If they merge it into one lot, then they'll be exempt from the,
2 of them are merged.
yeah.
If it's already merged,
And the rest of them, they didn't merge to it, and they bought those lots because they actually bought them cheap because they said they can't sell them and build on it because of the problem with the drainage. So they're not gonna sell them out, they're just gonna be with the water.
again, I'll send you that and we can work through that one. Well, I would like to thank you all for coming tonight. Hopefully that provided you some information. I'm sorry I can't tell you it's getting ready to start tomorrow.
Well, thank you.
Sure thing.